Fuck it, I'm done. Welcome to Montucky Skies Facebook Live. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Biggs. Guess what my costume is? So I'm the Predator, but the suit's malfunctioning. I had some makeup for the Predator, but then I decided it'd be a little bit too disarming to like do the camera and just have me not show up at all. So this is what you get. This is the Biggs you get today.
I am Steve Zissou from The Life Aquatic, as portrayed by Bill Murray.
And I'm hiding in the corridor right now. I'm the fucking phantom in the corridor. Welcome to our Halloween special. It's great to have you guys here. Thank you for showing up. We're here to talk about some movies, actually, and some movie monsters on our segments.
Monsters.
Yeah, that's right. And we're also going to have Geek Lanterns Light show up a couple of times throughout. But right now we're going to talk about on Montucky Skies. We had a list of movies that we were going to do. And so I picked 2 bad ones for Brandon.
And I picked 2 bad ones for you.
So that's the movies we're going to go over first. So should I go over mine first? Just because I have them turned in my fucking retinas right now.
You better go at
it. Okay, so the first movie you had me watch was the remake of Piranha from 2010 with Paul Scheer, Jerry Connell.
Oh, good God, I forgot how bad that
yeah, dude. It was fucking bad, man. There was a couple of things I liked about this movie, but mostly I just it felt like it was trying to be a B movie, but it was like...
It was way too high production to be a B movie.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It was too high production to be a B movie. So it's like it did there's too many CGI fish everywhere. The Jerry Connell stuff I found kind of unsettling because he's basically a guy from Girls Gone Wild who's really driving the plot more than anybody, and he's trying to get shots of sorority girls with their boobs out. And man, are there some boobs in this movie.
There are a lot of boobs in that movie.
Which 18-year-old Alex would have been like, fuck yeah, man. But 38-year-old Alex is like, I gotta watch this when my wife's not around and my kids aren't around. Because my wife won't appreciate it and the kids sure as fuck aren't gonna appreciate it. So that was interesting. But I enjoyed watching him get his dick bit off in his whole lower half. It was a little hardcore where they drop it to the bottom of the ocean and chew it in half and shit. It's a little over the top. Yeah, it was bad. I didn't enjoy it like I hoped it would. I actually really wanted to see that movie when it came out and didn't get around to it. And I was a little disappointed, I'm going to be honest.
The first bad movie I saw was the movie Parents.
Why don't you break down the plot of that one for us?
So this kid moves into a new town. It's set in mid-50s-ish, small town America, and his dad, played by Randy Quaid, pre-psycho Randy Quaid.
How psycho is he? Because we're all aware that Randy Quaid is psycho, right?
Yeah, if you haven't, just do a quick Google search and you'll find all sorts of Randy Quaid psycho of him just going living in a crack house, and yeah, it's not been a good time for Randy Quaid. Anyways, we get younger Randy Quaid plays this psycho perfect 50s dad who works in a chemical plant. He's a chemical engineer. But the main plot around it is the young kid, he's trying to fit into a new school, but he's something off about his parents, and he can't quite figure out. He ends up going to the school counselor and talking through it, and so he thinks his parents are cannibals. And So the school administrative staff pretty much just like, or the counselor just kind of like, no, that you're just having some overactive, and pretty much turns out by the end, yeah, you pretty much had it right all along. Just
Because his parents are fucking cannibals. I picked this movie for you because it's punishing to watch. Like, I remember seeing the cover for it when I was a kid and being frightened by it, and then seeing it as an adult, and it was just fucking unsettling, man. That whole movie is just unsettling, the tone and everything. I didn't like myself when I was watching it, so I hated myself for watching it. So I passed that along to you.
it's a really dark shot movie, except for like when they're eating, because the food is really vibrant, and so it really is like something is out of place from the very beginning. You see, like the food is out of place in this movie.
Yeah, because the kids are also cannibals, but they don't have a choice.
Yeah, thanks for that one, Biggs.
Yeah, I'm a dick. Okay, so the other movie you had me watch was Piranha 3 Double D. Okay, this one I was like actually had higher hopes for when I started watching it because I'm like, okay, so the first one had some hype behind it. This one, if you really think about it, so Piranha's the original one was a knockoff of Jaws, okay, and then they remade it, and then this is a sequel to that. So it was, it's a sequel to a remake to a knockoff. So I'm like, this is actually gonna be a B movie, and fuck it is, dude. It's got David Keck.
David Kecker kills it in that movie.
The boobs, I wish I could enjoy the boobs, but it's all those like crazy surgical like girl clearly went from an A to like a double D cup, and it's just like I don't know, it didn't do it for me. So there was nothing like I mean, it's all intended to be sexual, but it didn't work for me, if that makes sense.
You know, I would think Titus Andromeda said it best when California boobs.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure did. I'm curious, how much of this beer shows up? It makes me disappear. That's kind of cool. That's rogue. Anyway, um, so I had high hopes going in. They had a piranha swim up a lady's lady parts, which I didn't catch that's what happened at first, and then it like bit onto a dude when she went to lose her virginity, and it was really unsettling. And then it also because apparently this is a thing in these movies, it's got to bite the dick off again. But it doesn't. It bites onto it, and then he cuts his own off to get rid of the piranha, which is pretty messed up. But I was just about to give up on the movie, and then they had Ving Rhames show up, and he's got no legs. From the first one, like they ate his legs, but this time he goes, like he keeps telling Paul Scheer to shove him in the water, and then when Paul Scheer goes to do it, he's like, no, never mind, never mind, and then like yells at him for not shoving in the water, like that old routine. But then finally, like the piranhas show up in the swimming pool, which is a whole thing we don't have to get into.
No, that is part of the greatness of this movie, is that the whole thing's set in like a water slide park.
Yeah. So I was just about to give up on this movie, and then they have the scene where Ving Rhames goes, "Get me my legs." And so he goes and gets these titanium legs and walks into the water, and the piranhas are trying to chew on the legs, but it's not working because it's titanium. And he has fucking shotguns attached to the legs. And then I was just like, it just turned into the movie I wanted to watch. And then David Hasselhoff he's hired for the grand opening as a lifeguard. And he winds up doing the Baywatch thing where like he sees people in trouble, so he throws off his shirt and runs into the pool in slow motion. And dude, he hates gingers. He like lets it be known over and over again. So what else did you have to suffer through?
All right, what was the other? Oh, Plan 9 from Outer Space was the other
The
one.
classic.
You know, out of the 4 movies you made me watch, It was my second favorite.
You were setting that up like that was going to be your favorite. You're like, it's my second favorite.
No. I'll get to my favorite later in the show, but it was a solid number 2, like trying to push its way into number 1.
Well, it is a number 2 for sure.
It definitely deserves to be a number 2. That movie was so bad. I mean, just there wasn't anything like if you were trying to like teach a class on how not to make a movie, do this in the exact opposite way and you'll have a great movie. You're going to have Citizen Kane if you do everything that's not in this movie.
This is Ed Wood's Piece de la Resistance.
Unfortunately, this was Ed Wood's Citizen Kane.
Yeah, it really was. Okay, why don't you tell us the plot, Brandon?
Let's see the plot of this movie. So there's aliens that are trying to or they're trying to help humanity out, but humanity hasn't evolved enough yet. And this movie was shot in the height of the Cold War and nuclear testing. And so the next step beyond for human evolution was some sort of bomb that electrifies the atmosphere or something.
Don't forget the zombies.
Hey, I haven't even got to the zombies yet. So, as their punishment for going to this next step of warfare, they decided to destroy the human race by bringing the dead back to life. And so the majority of this movie is set in a graveyard, like just about the size of this room here, graveyard.
Do you remember the gravedigger conversation?
Did you hear anything? I thought I did. Don't like hearing noises, especially when there ain't supposed to be any. Yeah, sort of spooky-like. Maybe we're getting old. Whatever it is gone now. That's the best thing for us, too. Gone. Yeah, let's go.
The utter lack of continuity in the movie. Because they'll have scenes where like they're driving up in the daytime, like mid-afternoon. And then anything shot in the graveyard is at night. Like in the middle of the daytime, like they'll go into the graveyard, it'll be night in the graveyard. They'll walk out of the graveyard, it's still the middle of the day.
Yeah. And it has that super famous scene with the scientist where he's just like, "You idiots! You dumb fools!" Like he's just fucking going off on humanity. It's so fucking cheesy. I love it.
Yeah. The other part that's really great is they had Bela Lugosi in the credits, but they just used stock footage of him from some old vampire movie.
Yeah. And so much, but Aaron Donaldson called this out when he did an episode of the Alien Movie Project. He was saying that it's like a bunch of it sounds like poetry written by a 12-year-old. Just see this train wreck of a movie. If you don't want to pay a penny for it, you can see it on YouTube. It's on most streaming platforms because it's not like nobody holds the rights to it.
Yeah,
so.
and there's a couple of different versions out. There's a pure black and white version. There's a Technicolor version. That's the one I ended up watching. Like black and white, Technicolor, doesn't really matter. It's god awful either way.
Hi, my name is Jeremiah, and I'm going to tell you a little spooky story. So, about a few years ago, I was living in this house, right? And I had fixed a closet as like a little hangout spot, and me and my friend would hang out in there. Anyways, we were hanging out in there, and I heard screaming coming from inside of my house. Freaked us both out. We went out, saw nothing. It's the craziest thing ever, right? So, about a few years later, I was trying to go to bed to go to work because I had to work in the morning, and I heard a noise, and sleep paralysis had hit me, so I could not move. But I was inching my arm to turn on the light right next to my bed, and I felt something sniffing up the nape of my neck, and it scared the shit out of me. It was horrible. Anyways, that is my scary ghost story, and have a happy Halloween. And we'll be having a Halloween episode here soon for Geek Lanterns Light, which is my podcast. So have a safe Halloween. Drive safe. Take an Uber home.
All right, so now the good movies we made each other watch. So you had me watch Hostel. We'll just start out with that one. I feel like you're being a bit hostile when you made me watch that too.
It's tough to watch in that it is so graphic that, I mean, it started the whole murder porn, or not murder porn, but like torture porn.
Did that one start it? I almost feel like Saw started it, but Hostel was there. I don't know. What came first, Hostel or
You know,
Saw,
I think this. I think you're right. I think Saw did come out first, but it wasn't. I think the Hostel movie wasn't very long after.
It wasn't that bad. Like it wasn't that, and I know that it was bad at the time, but because I saw one of the Saw movies, I'm just like, this isn't that bad.
It's not that bad.
Yeah. What did you think of Hostel?
You know, I'm thinking back on it, like, I remember the hype being so much worse than what I saw on screen. Because I remember watching it and I thought Saw was way more torturific or like got under your skin sort of way. Like, because there's one scene in Saw that just, it's still like, there was two scenes that are like really like, I can remember, like, will never leave my mind. The one is where he's given the choice to like cut his eye out to get the key to unlock whatever he was stuck in.
Oh, yeah, and Saw?
Yeah. And like that like just stuck with me because I cannot do anything involving my eyes. Like I can't put contacts in. So the thought of like having to cut my eye out to get a key out, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm dead.
But we're talking about Hostel, so if we're gonna relate that to Hostel, there is an Asian lady who winds up getting an eye is like dripping out of her like head. Eli Roth. That's the second movie with an Eli Roth cameo because he directed this and he plays this really psychotic person who tortures that lady as I was just mentioning. But he's also in the first Piranha. I don't remember what he does, but he's basically in a scene and he's not a good guy and he winds up getting run over by a boat, I think, like in a horrific way. So, like two Eli Roth cameos tonight. But okay, let's see. What's one of the movies I made you watch I thought was good?
So the first movie I'm gonna talk about would be The Babadook.
Great movie.
No. No. That movie was terrible.
Well, tell us the plot.
A young single mother and her son. The father is out of the picture because he's deceased. Died in a car wreck, I think on the way to the hospital, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, for the kid to be born.
The kid's not well adjusted in school, and so he is kind of a stranger, and then he keeps like at home keeps talking about monsters invading the house and the Babadook, and this book shows up and creeps out the mom. Mom hides it on the shelf, it like finds its way back, and she burns the book. Book finds its way back, and I sort of lost interest after that.
Dude, I thought it was a brilliant movie. I'll tell you why. Because it starts out and the kid seems like the devil when you're first watching it, like he's doing really awful things. The school's really concerned. There's little hints about like the wife not dealing well with her husband's death, but they're just little hints at first. And then she starts to fucking lose it as the Babadook is like coming forth, and the kid's like totally going off about monsters coming after her and all that. But what I like about it is it takes a turn and you realize that she's the insane one and she's driving her kid insane. And then the kid just gets fucking scared. And so she's basically going to kill the kid because she's fucking lost her mind. And so, like, I just love that turn. And I also love that, like, if you're a parent and you've had kids, you've had, like, a really rough stretch with them, where it's just like you're really tired and you can't sleep and they won't stop acting up, like you'll relate to a little bit until she fucking goes overboard and then you feel bad for relating to it at all. But what I really like about it is like the end, they like lock up the monster or whatever, but she's feeding it like in this room where she has all her husband stuff. And so they're basically saying this is never going to be okay. Like this woman is crazy. She's never going to let it go. And her kid's going to be in danger as long as she can't let it go. And so I really liked the movie because I liked the little twists and turns that they took, and it wasn't really a supernatural thing, although it's originally presented as it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you know it does. I mean, there were some interesting things about this movie. I mean, I don't want to like just dismiss it entirely. It just didn't really grab me. Like you said, some of the twists they took in the movie were really interesting. Where the Babadook itself was kind of a metaphor for her not dealing with her grief.
Like if you're tired of your cookie cutter horror movie, I think we can both agree this is one not in a mold. Like it's an original movie for sure. But so you had me watch Phantasm. This is not a good movie. This is partly my fault because I did want to see. I feel like you were doing me a solid because I definitely wanted to see one of the Phantasm movies, and it's not a great movie. However, I thought it was really funny because it was so bad that it really made me laugh. It's essentially about there's a kid and his older brother for some reason keep hanging out at this graveyard. Like they have a reason at the beginning, but then they just keep hanging out at it, and it's fucking weird that they keep going and hanging out at it. So right away I'm like, this doesn't make sense that they keep hanging out at this like funeral home. It's not like they live next door to it or anything, you know. But essentially there's this tall man there, and the kid sees that he has like supernatural strength, which immediately makes him be watching because he like lifts up a casket all by himself into the hearse. And it turns out that he is guarding a dimension to like these little people that are from another dimension that eat human brains, I think. Did I get that right?
I honestly don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Wait, you suggested it, but you never saw it?
That is correct. That is correct. Well, you're talking about it. I'm like, I thought I'd seen this movie, and then I'm like, I don't recall seeing this movie.
You're like, oh wait, that was Hellraiser. Well, Phantasm, the thing that when it finally happened, it only happens twice in the movie, but this is what I knew about it, and probably from all the sequels. But he has this chain that goes whips out and like hits people's skulls, and then like rips out their brain, like slingshots it back. It's fucking insane. And like nothing is consistent and none of the motivations make sense. Nothing in it works. But it's such a fucking treasure if you like to laugh at like bad movies. So I fucking enjoyed it. My wife told you, as I said on the podcast before, Brandon, you need to think about the movies that you make my husband watch because I have to watch them too. That being said, me and River laughed at the whole thing and we enjoyed it because I like to talk during a movie. Surprising, I know, being a podcast host and all. But I love just fucking taking apart movies and just fucking laughing at the bad logic. So this is definitely a good one for that. So not a waste of my time. Definitely glad I watched it. I'm gonna watch Phantasm 2 on HBO. I hope it's just as bad, if I'm being honest, because I know there's like at least 5 of them. So
My favorite out of the 4 movies was The Hills Have Eyes, the original 1976 version. Was fucking great. I had seen the remake they did in 2010.
something like that. And well, no, it was before that because it was before I was married. So it's probably like '06 or '07. But you saw them in the same order I did too. I saw the remake and then I saw the original. I'm like, this is so much better.
The remake they kind of did like an Ozark theme where the people that are after them are
Like they look like a mutant.
and this one is I think a more interesting take because as you go into the film, they the family that stops at this little convenience store out in the middle of the desert, like meets this old man, and turns out that the old man was the father to this crazy child, demon child, as he called it, devil child, not demon child.
Damn.
Devil
Don't tell
child.
me my business, devil child.
And the devil child like grows up and basically is just feral, like long crazy hair, like, but has his wits about him, which makes it even more terrifying. So I mean they're tormenting this family, like they kill one of their dogs and eat the dog, and they're like, oh, let's have some baby. Let's get some baby. Eat the baby.
Steal a baby. And what I think is like terrifying about this movie is that like so it was basically Wes Craven saying, hey, this is just like people in the middle of the country or like in the South somewhere. Like this is just like people that you don't know. Like this could just be people that are out there, and that's what makes it terrifying. That's what they lose in the remake is like it's mutants, so like you're a little bit removed from it when you're watching it.
Yeah,
And you're like, these are monsters, but like these are
regular people that just went feral.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really way more intense. I mean, the one guy's, and he was in a few other movies.
Weird Science. Right? He's like the biker in Weird Science when they're like clearing out the party. And Wyatt has to like stand up to him to get him out of the house. And he's like the super big biker with the shaved head. And he's just like, I'm actually a stockbroker, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't tell anybody about this. And he like walks out, but that's the main dude from The Hills Have Eyes, like super huge dude. You'd recognize him if you saw him because the dude fucking stands out in the crowd. Like,
Yeah.
But it helps that he's like 7'6".
Yeah, I think he was in one of the Rob Zombie movies, but I can't.
Almost
verify.
Definitely. I think he's in A House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah. It looks like a movie that could be made now and set in the 70s and do just as well because it so looks like I could see my extended family on vacation in the mid 70s being the family it was portrayed.
Yeah, I think it's really a psychological horror more than anything. I mean, you don't see them most of the time, but they're doing things that really like strike at your psyche, you know. It's a fucking good movie. I really
like there's one point where like the one dog that survives, like I can't remember if he killed somebody or he just like chomped on and then like they ran away, so he brought the walkie-talkie back.
Yeah, the dog is the hero.
The dog is definitely the hero.
If you're a dog lover, this one's for you.
I don't know, the one dog gets like mutilated.
All right, if you're a dog lover, don't watch this movie.
But the dog brings back the walkie-talkie, and so they're just outside of Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, and so they're trying to radio somebody at the Air Force, and so the one guy, the leader of the feral group, like gets on the walkie-talkie and he's talking just like somebody that would be responding from the Air Force Base, but then he like starts fucking with them, like, and it's like obviously like 30 seconds into this, like, oh, we're just fucking with you, you're done.
Yeah, I love this movie, but we should cut back to one of the men of Geek Lantern's light. So let me see if this works.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Kisson. I'm going to tell one of my scary stories from when I was younger. Living on Colstrip on Browning Street, on this big brown house, over in the corner, during like one of the times when I was eating breakfast, we had no pets, no animals living in our house. My brother wasn't even there anymore, so really nobody to mess with me. Nobody played tricks on me or anything like that. And I was a very picky eater, so when I was eating my cereal, I was very, very picky and wanted to get away from it. And so I was like, oh, can I go use the restroom kind of thing. Went to the bathroom, came back down, and all my milk was gone in my bowl. I thought it was kind of weird, but nothing big deal. Kind of, could just soaked in kind of thing. And then I was picking at that, this soggy cereal, and I was like, oh, can I go to the bathroom again? And I was very young, so my mom was like, yeah, just come back down and eat your cereal. And I went to the bathroom, came back down, and the bowl was gone. All the cereal in the bowl was gone. There was nothing there. The bowl was still sitting there, the knives and the spoon and everything else, the napkin and everything. Nothing was disturbed, and my stepmom was a very strict lady. She was not going to do something like that to teach me a lesson or to help me out or anything like that. It was a very creepy scene, and we always had like shadows that actually would move without anybody actually moving, and there was no cars or traffic going by our house. So it was just a creepy house.
We thought that we were gonna need a monster, like, fucking standoff here. Like, we were gonna have to take the movie monsters, I guess, of our childhood. Not even our childhood, but just like the really popular ones that have a million movies. So I picked 8 of them. There's a lot of them, but I picked 8 that would make sense to have in a big standoff, and we're just gonna put them in a bracket. So we picked the top 8. So there's no particular order except for 2 of them that totally made sense that we'll get to when we get to. But here's the first bracket. We got Jason Voorhees versus Pinhead. Who do you think would win in this matchup, Brandon?
Jason's an unstoppable killing machine, and Pinhead's just kind of scary in my book.
Yeah, Pinhead has like these demon powers and can do all sorts of stuff, but it seems like he gets thwarted an awful lot. Whereas like Jason, dude, he just if you're around Crystal Lake, he's gonna kill you. It's just a matter of time. If you're in space, he's gonna kill you. It's a matter of time. Yeah, I think this is clearly Jason Voorhees moves on, right?
It's definitely got to be
Jigsaw versus Leatherface.
Leatherface on this one. Jigsaw is a old cancer-ridden patient, so it's got to be Leatherface.
Well, I would assume if we're doing Jigsaw, he has time, right? We have to like set up time for Jigsaw. You have to give them like their biggest attributes to be able to use. So this is Jigsaw being able to set up his traps for Leatherface to get to him, right? I'll still go Leatherface because I feel like that motherfucker has no problem not only getting his hand chopped off to get in the next room, but he'll fucking eat it. You know what I mean? Like, he's got no problem with that. So, like, I think Leatherface gets to him, but I don't think there's going to be much of Leatherface by the time he gets to Jigsaw. So I'm going to go Jigsaw.
So you're saying Jigsaw is the one that goes on this one?
Yeah. I'm saying Leatherface by the time he gets to Jigsaw is like no legs and an arm dragging himself over with like using a chainsaw to drag himself over, and then Leatherface probably or Jigsaw probably just takes a shotgun and blows his head off. So we're not in agreement on this one?
No, we're not. So
Okay, so we have this highly systematic thing. Oh, my suit's malfunctioning again. Alright, so we are going to do a... I'm trying to get it in the
Go
shot
this way.
here.
there you go.
Okay, so we're going to do rock, paper, scissors to see who moves on. So whoever wins. Here we go.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
I win. Jigsaw moves on.
All right.
That's kind of appropriate. I won with scissors. That's like all of them should be scissors, really, out of this. Okay, so the next we've got Freddy Krueger versus Michael Myers. This is fucking legends in this one. So who do you think moves on out of Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger?
So I think that Freddy Krueger should move on because that guy's got otherworldly abilities where Michael Myers is pretty well grounded in reality. And
what? You can't believe that he's grounded in reality, right? He was in a mental institution for most of his life.
Okay, so grounded in reality might be a bad choice of words, but he exists on the physical plane, whereas, Freddy Krueger is operating in like the demon plane or something.
Okay. All right. So here's where I'm going on this, and just follow my logic here. Michael Myers spends most of his life comatose, right? Yeah. He does. Freddy's gonna win before this fight even starts. Like, he has to fight him in his dreams on his own turf most of the time. I don't think Michael Myers is gonna be able to pull him out of his dream. It's so fucking crazy. He just goes comatose for large periods of time.
I'd agree with you on Freddy Krueger on this one.
Chucky versus the Leprechaun. This is the one that makes sense.
Chucky versus the Leprechaun.
They're about the same height, right?
Yeah. This is a really... I'm struggling with this one.
So Chucky is way more sadistic than the Leprechaun. Leprechaun has magic. The Leprechaun's plans don't really pan out so well most of the time. So I gotta go with Chucky because I just think Chucky is gonna slit the Leprechaun's throat before he has the time to use his little black magic to get through. He hardly kills anybody. Like, the Leprechaun usually gets a body count of 3 or 4 people a movie. Like, Chucky gets in like 7, 8 a movie. I just think Chucky's very prolific. He's like the Michael Jordan of short killers.
I was really like struggling where to go with this, and I think you laid down a pretty good groundwork. And so I have to go with you on this with Chucky.
We got Jason Voorhees versus, was it Jigsaw that won? Jigsaw moved on, right? Yeah, so Jason Voorhees versus Jigsaw. To me, it doesn't matter what you cut off, Jason's gonna take you. Like, he took Manhattan, for Christ's sake. He's gonna take Jigsaw in any trap he has laid.
There's been lots of people that have tried to lay traps for Jason over the years and failed miserably.
They shot his ass out into space and it didn't work.
There is no way that Jason doesn't just destroy Jigsaw.
Yeah, Jason's just... It doesn't matter. He can lose every part of it. Somehow he's gonna transfer it to another body and fucking move on. We've already established, and that body will be all moldy, but it'll be all his limbs in the end. So, and we already know Jason lasts until like 25, 46 or whatever the year Jason goes to space is. So, yeah, I gotta go Jason. Okay, so round 2 here. We have Freddy Krueger move on, or we have Freddy Krueger. So it's Freddy Krueger versus Chucky. Does Chucky dream?
When they went to like expanded the universe into like the Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, like I think I remember him having nightmares at some point. So
yeah, you're right. So Chucky dreams. I gotta say Freddy then. Dude, he's a fucking doll. He's a doll. He's gonna go out of like his latex ball or fucking he's gonna find Chucky's worst nightmare. Maybe it's like sitting in church and being good, and then Freddy's gonna fucking kill him. So I'm gonna go Freddy on this one.
I gotta say Freddy's moving on.
Okay, so I'm creeped out that there's a disembodied hand going through his da-na-na-na. Anyway, so so now we have Freddy versus Jason. I feel like this has already been established. Freddy wins.
Yeah, so didn't Jason win in that?
I mean, if you want to take the short-sighted view, you could say Jason won, but I think the fact that a decapitated Freddy head is laughing tells us that Freddy won, right? Like, he ain't laughing when the girls dispatch him. He's laughing when Jason does.
You know, I think this might just be a draw because, they're both in hell and neither one of them could die in hell. So, but I mean,
I think it's going to require rock, paper, scissors of epic proportions.
rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yeah, okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Damn it.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh!
Yeah! Freddy wins! Just like he did in
Barely.
the movie, kind of. I don't know. It's tough. They really did cop out in that movie, didn't they? They didn't give us a satisfying, conclusion, but this segment is concluded, so we're going to go to the Boys of the Geek Lanterns Light one more time, and then we'll be back to talk about Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay, hi, I'm Ben Miller, and I'm going to tell you a creepy ghost story that happened to me. So back in high school, they had a ghost hunting club, and I joined that because I was like, why not? And we went to some crazy places. One of the places was Boulder Tunnel, which is this really rundown old train tunnel they had over by Boulder. And we went there during the day. We didn't really catch anything. So me and a couple of friends, we decided, hey, why don't we go at night? This place is creepy during the day. How bad could it be early during the night? Well, yeah. Well, when we came with flashlights, it was pretty creepy the more we explored that tunnel. We did some EVP sessions. We caught some distorted voices, couldn't really deter what they were saying, but when we looked on the walls and stuff, we saw a bunch of satanic symbols, some dead animals, some dead deer, just hidden in certain areas of the tunnel, and it was pretty creepy hearing just noises. We weren't sure if there was any hobos in there or anything. So we didn't have any weapons on us, so as soon as we saw the symbols and whatnot and just the dead carcasses of the animals, we kind of got the fuck out of there quick because, we ain't going to mess with whatever the fuck was going on in there.
When we were brainstorming this, the thought of musical coming up just wasn't really something I thought was going to happen.
Well, I'm going to say it's Brandon's fault.
It's funny because it was quick story. We went out Saturday night, the wife and I. Shout out to Jesse there. We went out, had a few beers, and the kids were home alone. Shannon, oldest, ended up going to a friend's house, so my youngest was all alone. So I felt bad. So I decided to take her to the movies. So it was either Lego Ninjago or Little Shop of Horrors.
I would have gone Little Shop of Horrors. I love that movie. There's not very many musicals I'll stick up for, but actually, me and my wife just watched it the other day, and I had completely forgotten about it until she popped in, and I was like, I fucking love this movie. For some reason, I watched it 12, 13 times when I was a kid, and I know a lot of the songs. To be a dentist. I love that movie, so I think you made the right choice on that one.
I actually had a pretty fun time watching the movie. And I think it's the first time I'd seen the entire thing beginning to end. So I really had a fun time with it. And the kids, I was kind of watching their reaction on it. They really loved the scene with Steve Martin and Bill Murray.
Yeah, that shit was great because he's like a sadist. He's like a sadist, and Steve Martin is like a masochist. Trying to see how creepy I can make this look as I go. Doesn't quite working the way. There we go. There's my eyes. Okay, so I love that Bill Murray loves to be punished, and the dentist loves to punish. But he's very turned off when it comes time to punish. You know what I mean? Like, he does not like it, and Bill Murray is just, he wants more, and he won't give it to him. But from what I understand, is Fathom Events goes back to the original ending, which the interesting thing about the original ending is that it was cut because it was too much of a downer at the time, but it was closer to what the ending of the original movie was with Jack Nicholson. For people that don't know, it's a Roger Corman movie with Jack Nicholson, and it was a straight up horror movie, and the plant, like Audrey 2, takes over the world essentially at the end of it. And then they made a musical of it on Broadway, and then when they went to make the movie, Frank Oz realized it's just too much of a downer, people won't get behind it, so they gave it the happy ending. So they cut like 25 minutes from the end. It is the longest amount of time that they've like cut from a movie and like refilmed it. Like they spent so much money refilming the end. But I mean, clearly it worked because it was a successful movie. But I think Frank Oz said something about like, because we're in the Trump days, that he thought audiences would accept the original ending better now, so he put it back in. Is that right? Like there was interviews and stuff with that, right?
He didn't say anything about the Trump days, but he said he really wanted to go with the ending that I ended up watching, which is with Audrey 2 taking over the world, basically, or the plants taking over
Just
the world.
eating everything.
Like you see him like stepping on the Brooklyn Bridge, eating shit. Yeah, so I mean, I thought it was really funny.
And
So,
it gives you it shows a consequence for what Seymour did, because he's feeding people to the plant, even if they're shitty people. He's still feeding people to the plant. Like there should be a punishment for that, you know. So I mean, that ending makes sense to me. I should watch it. I've heard it's on YouTube. You can just watch it pretty much anytime. So
I know they just released the Blu-ray version with the full director's cut, which is what they just showed on what I watched. So it's definitely out there for people that want to watch it.
it's interesting that they call that a director's cut, because the director made the call that like they needed a different ending, but like that's just the shorthand for the longer version most of the time, right? But so this is probably a good place to cut off. So thank you for joining our special. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and happy Halloween, everybody.